Welcome back, and it's great to be back. As we take on this, I'll be having a chat with, I'll start from my extreme right. I'll start with the Director General, National Orientation Agency, and Head of the National Information Crisis Management Center. It's great to have you here, Mr. Michael Omeri.
Thank you, Kaide.
And sitting next to him is Issa Gusau, who's Special Advisor on Communications to the Borno State Government.
Thank you.
Great to have you, Issa.
Thank you so much.
What we're looking at is our focus on what has been the issue of the missing girls. A lot of people have made comments about what should have been and what shouldn't have been, how this has panned out. Loads of people have mentioned the fact that the federal government had a delayed action and reaction or responses to how this is gone. They have also said that the communication and the handling of the communication by the federal government has not been up to scratch to a large extent until recently. And the international community also joined in agreeing with those who are local. So it's not something that was done just by any political set of people or anybody who had negative intentions against the federal government. So let me start with you, Mike. Now, when you look at the way the management of the information has been, what will be your response as somebody that works with the federal government?
Well, thank you once again, Coyote. The approach adopted was a multi-agency kind of situation where all the services in the armed forces and the police had deployed capacity towards searching for the girls, and each of these services were giving out information according to what was available to them. So you couldn't rule out the possibility of inconsistency since they were approaching it from various angles. And in addition to that, also you know that information was also coming from Borno State and the school authorities and the government and so forth and so on. So various scenarios had to play out. And realizing this deficiency and the need and the hunger, public hunger for information, and the media, thirst for information as well, the federal government decided that we should create a synergy that will interact with the public, that will interact with the media, that will interact with various sources, so that adequate information is made available on a timely and accurate and credible manner. And that is where we are at the moment.
Okay, now you are heading the National Information Crisis Management Center. What has been put in place to ensure that the dissemination of information, especially regarding this particular crisis, what's been put in place to make sure that it's more than up to scratch?
Well, at the moment, we have various monitoring platforms and also outlets for taking information out to the people. But importantly, the services have now all come together to work with us in this center. In fact, they form the core of the center, and every other government information source is represented in this center. So we have technology, we have contacts with all the media people. Yesterday, when we came out with the first briefing, the media was there, properly and adequately represented. Center is open. We are still monitoring by the minute what is happening, and information comes from various sources, from the military, from all the services, and we merge them together to ensure synergy of response and action.
Okay, is the Borno State represented on that committee? Do you have any involvement with it?
Honestly, I don't think we are. I'm just hearing it now.
No, they wouldn't have, because right from the onset, it was clear the information from Borno State was being managed from Borno State by its personnel. But this is the federal government response to it, because largely the accusation has been shifted to the federal government by curiously. So you would understand.
But isn't it necessary for the federal government to, if you're managing crisis and the information that's coming out from that crisis point, shouldn't it be that those who are on ground, who have their fingers on the pulse of what's happening, shouldn't they be the ones that you actually have on board so that they are able to give you up to the minute?
Don't forget that the federal government has also stationed personnel and capacity at this point. And don't forget also that there
those people, local people.
They are local people, they are Nigerians, they are not foreigners. They are Nigerians. And besides that, a lot of efforts have gone into getting information from the people, and this is even coming at a very slow, there has been a slow response from the people, from even the government, because up to now, we've asked the government of Borno State to give us the exact situation of what happened on that day. We don't have it.
You don't have it. Okay,
So
let me ask Issa then. Have you been consulted on this? Has the state government, the governor, has been consulted? Has he come back to his advisors like yourself saying, oh, the federal government want this information, can you all prepare it and give it to me so that I pass it on?
First of all, I think I want to say with very due respect to my elder brother and very senior colleague that it will be a kind of shame, at the moment, if as a country the federal government would say that it does not have the needed information at this point in time, when the entire world is focused on Nigeria. To say that the government does not have sufficient information as it is today, I don't think it's a good situation. But by and large, the fact of the matter is that one must also give the federal government some excuse, because this thing took everyone by storm, I must say. And the Borno State government was taken by storm, the federal government, probably the security agencies, I'm not standing in for them. I think this was actually what happened. Then, at the beginning, the mistake ab initio started, I think, from the military circles. There was a contact with the principal of that school, from what was reported, by the defense headquarters, a situation where the military claimed to have spoken with her, and the principal said about 180 students were back. Well, the principal said nobody ever called her. She didn't speak with any military, so we don't know the source of that information. I think that was the beginning of the whole crisis, actually. If there had been a synergy from the onset, between... There are security guys on ground. In the past, under the JTF, there used to be a very good information, network within the military circles. There was one Colonel Sagir Musa who was doing very well. Colonel Dole, who is the person there, is actually very competent. But I was made to realize that the defense headquarters, changed, the practice such that information, would have to emanate from defense headquarters. So I think there might have been problem of communication between the defense headquarters and the military in Borno State. I think that is where we got all this mix-up. But I think the important thing now is that we have to focus so much on how to rescue these girls. The information about having over 200 girls missing came about after the governor of Borno State directed the school authorities to open a register for parents to come and lodge complaints. There was a lot of public announcement calling on those whose children might have returned home, to bring them back so that we can have a good record, of this. At the moment, based on investigations conducted by the Borno State Police Command and the Department of State Service, they have come into a conclusion that a total of 276, girls were actually abducted. They had a press briefing 2 weeks ago.
276,
yes.
It's not 234 or 280.
Based on that, no, but out of this, 53, are now found. So it means 234, are still missing.
Okay.
You see, Kayode, I don't want to use some words that would put us on public domain as we're quarreling over non-issues. But what I want to point out, if you recall when the Commissioner of Police came here for some questioning, he said 44. The Borno State government said 53. So you can see the level, I mean, reason why government would say information coming from Borno State has not been consistent.
Okay, from the perspective.
Excuse me.
Okay, good.
And, initially, when the principal spoke, she said something else. Later, another information. Now, a high-powered team also went to ascertain the veracity of various claims, led by the Chief of Defense Staff, the NSA, and some other high-ranking officers of the military. They went just a couple of days ago. And until the discussion between the First Lady and, WAEC and all of those, we didn't even know exactly, including the Borno State government, didn't tell us exactly how many students were at the school at the moment. It was when that exercise took place that we got to know 530 students actually registered for the conduct of examination in that school. And it was only then that we knew that it was a mixed school. It was only then that we knew some, according to claims, jumped from a moving truck and they came out without getting hurt. It was only then that we knew some of the girls who were told clung to trees to escape. Some of the stories, right now what I would say is that a lot of effort has gone in by the government, federal government, to find out what actually happened on that night. And a lot of questions are being asked. A lot of answers are coming up.
Let me add to the questions that are being asked.
Yes.
Is the federal government making concerted efforts to carry along the government of a state that actually owns the school, because it's a government girls' secondary school, carrying them along and making sure that all of the parties concerned